the 10-minute rule motion. Diana Johnson.
Mr Speaker, I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to regulate the termination of pregnancies by medical practitioners and to repeal certain criminal offences relating to such terminations and for connected purposes. Mr Speaker, in England and Wales, women have a legal route to an abortion through the Abortion Act 1967, introduced by David Steele as a private member's bill. But 50 years on, it is right that this House now has the chance to debate one fundamental issue that this Act did not address. Abortion remains a criminal offence in this country, even if it is carried out early on in term for both the woman who has the abortion and anyone who assists her. Under sections 58 to 59 of the Offences Against the Persons Act 1861 and other legislation, termination of a pregnancy carries the maximum sentence of life imprisonment. This is the harshest criminal penalty of any country in Europe, underpinned by a Victorian criminal law passed before women even had the right to vote, let alone sit in this place. The Abortion Act 1967 did not change the fundamental fact. It merely set out circumstances under which abortion could be legal. For example, the need for 2 doctors' signatures that specified conditions are met, including a time limit now set at 24 weeks, and in exceptional circumstances, the conditions for abortions post 24 weeks. Unlike in other countries, this means that abortion remains illegal except in those limited circumstances as in the Act. No other medical procedure in this country is governed by legislation this old or this out of step with clinical developments and changing attitudes. So I want the House to reflect on the following comments from women who have sought help from online organisations to buy abortion tablets, something that no one would ever have imagined in 1967, let alone 1861. And in doing so, it would mean that they are committing criminal offences under the 1861 Act. The first woman says this: I live in rural England. I don't have many friends, and the relatives I have I'm not close to. I was hoping to have a termination in the comfort of my own home without judgmental eyes and without worrying about my husband knowing. I fear what would happen if he did. I have 3 children and my third is 11 months old. I considered an abortion when he was conceived and had a terrible pregnancy, and I'm still suffering from postnatal depression. I will try to seek help anonymously if possible, but I'm in great need of help. Or this woman: I visited my GP last week and he referred me to my local NHS service. They can only offer me a medical abortion with 3 visits to the hospital on separate days. On the second visit, I'm expected to stay there all day. I work full-time and I have 2 young sons, so getting all that time off and childcare is going to be very difficult, probably impossible. And then the following quote from Dr. Rebecca Gompertz, the Director of Women on Web, about English women seeking help online. Yes, we get them all the time. We had an Islamic girl forbidden from leaving the house without a chaperone. How is she going to get to an abortion clinic? She can't. For her, her only option might be that she can get the medicine sent to her by post. So due to the accessibility of medication now available online, women are more than ever before at risk of breaking the law, and a few prosecutions have already happened. And I wonder if any of us truly believe that these women in such difficult circumstances really should be seen as criminals. Let me be clear that decriminalisation will not mean deregulation. Parliament can decide to retain existing safeguards within a decriminalised environment, including the existing time limit of 24 weeks. Abortion would remain subject to the same complex mass of general, criminal, civil, administrative and other legal provisions which govern all medical procedures. And I ask that honourable members also consider the fact that Poland, a traditional Catholic country, does not criminalise women for having an abortion, and even the United States has not criminalised women for having an abortion since a Supreme Court judgment in 1973. When the current US President suggested that women should be punished for having abortions last year, he was forced to backtrack after the public outcry. In proposing this bill, I want to thank the many individuals and organisations who helped me along the way, including BPAS Abortion Rights and particularly Professor Sally Sheldon at the University of Kent Law School. And I want to specifically address the concerns about decriminalisation head-on. I want to be clear what this bill will do and what it won't do. Firstly, decriminalisation will not make it easier to access abortions post 24 weeks. Under the 67 Act, abortions beyond 24 weeks are only allowed in exceptional circumstances, if, for example, the mother's life is at risk. With decriminalisation, these exact same conditions can apply, and we know from countries that have already decriminalised, like Canada and parts of Australia, there's no evidence of an increase in late-term abortions. Secondly, decriminalisation will not lead to a free-for-all with unlicensed practitioners providing abortions, as now there will be strict regulation and licensing of health professionals. For example, both of the pills most commonly used in medical abortions are prescription only. That means they are covered under the Human Medicines Regulations 2012, which make it illegal to supply such drugs without a prescription. So with decriminalisation, Parliament would need to have an evidence-based debate about what kind of abortion provision up to 24 weeks would be in the best interests of women and agree appropriate safeguards. And finally, decriminalisation will also not permit gender-selective and non-consensual abortions. Some opponents of decriminalisation argue that the only way we can restrict these practices is to apply a criminal law to everyone. And I hope that honourable members appreciate that it is well within the capacity of this House to find a better way forward that does not criminalise all women and all practitioners. And I want to be clear that under the current law, women cannot obtain an abortion on the grounds of gender of the child. With decriminalisation, professional bodies which are best placed to take action can continue to prohibit this as a ground for abortion. And it's worth pointing out that the current law does nothing about those who try and coerce women in those circumstances. And on the issue of non-consensual abortions, such as when a man assaults a pregnant woman, that would continue to be criminalised under other laws such as grievous bodily harm. Now that all these potential objections are addressed, this leaves honourable members to ask themselves the fundamental question which gets to the heart of what my bill is about. It is this: should abortion be an inherently criminal act, punishable by up to life imprisonment? In asking themselves this question, I hope honourable members will bear in mind the vulnerable women who are ill-served by our current laws and whether their care is now being compromised. There is also evidence that doctors are thinking twice about practising in this area of women's health care because of the threat of criminalisation. We do not use these laws for any other medical practices, so why do we do it for abortion? This is one of the many reasons why a range of expert groups, including the Royal College of Midwives and the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, support decriminalisation. Like me, I hope honourable members will therefore conclude that the criminalisation of abortion suits nobody. Women are poorly served by laws which state that even early-term abortions are inherently criminal, and doctors are poorly served by a criminal framework that doesn't apply to other areas of health care. We should create an environment where the stigma of the criminal law is removed and where women can come forward for advice and high-quality, woman-centred health care as early as possible in a pregnancy. I hope that honourable members will join me in saying that in the 21st century in England and Wales, abortion should no longer be considered a criminal offence and that the 1861 Act is now obsolete and no longer fit for purpose in the 21st century. Mr. Speaker, in closing, I'd just like to repeat an observation on decriminalisation, which has taken place, as I said earlier, in some Australian states. And the quotation is this: the decriminalisation has resulted in a profound shift in the relationship between the state and its female citizens. It changes both nothing and everything. Nothing because the number, the rate and the incidence of abortion will not change, and everything because for the first time women will be recognised as the authors of our own lives, and with that comes our full citizenship.
Order. The